Alright, normally I do patch overviews for 20XX series games. I did one for pretty much every major update for the last game. This is basically a very incremental patch. They added some level chunks, they did some tweaks. The biggest thing is that they added the ability to reroll. So, if you're like me, you play this game to go fast, like what you just saw there. You can actually reroll. So depending on what you're going for, you can try to get a double jump. If you ever watch like somebody speedrun The Binding of Isaac, this is pretty similar. Not as bad as Isaac. There's not as many items to begin with, but you want to get a specific piece to start with. You can pretty much just reset to your heart's content. However, when you do this, you're going to make it harder to get another piece. So I think it's actually pretty balanced the way it is, simply because if you use all your rerolls here, you're not going to have any later on. You can also reroll passive items too, just the regular augments, not the core augments. So this is kind of a double-edged sword. It makes the game more fun, in my opinion, because you can get exactly what you want to start at the beginning of your seed if you're tired of potentially playing a seed without even, whatever the pillar of your build is going to be. For me, I like to go fast and just blaze through everything, so I tend to go for double jump. Air dash is nice to have. It's nice to have both, but double jump gives you a lot more mobility overall. Like, Armor Torch Shell is really good to have if you're going for a speedy build. If you're gonna stack like a bunch of mobility and run speed and stuff, Armor Torch chest is really good to have. But if you do this and you're trying to get a double jump, then you don't know if you're actually going to get the Armor Torch chest later on. There's still a very high chance that you won't. Especially since they can spawn in shops, you may not have the money. Let's see how long it takes to get a double jump. Isaac speedruns are way worse than this. They reset like hundreds of times sometimes to start like even one speedrun. I know that I don't really follow Isaac that much, but I know that they do have mods that basically remove all the crap items. 30XX does not have that problem right now. Pretty much every item is good. It's mostly just a lot of things don't apply to Ace. Like the Alhawk set is basically trash on Ace because it doesn't do anything for him. So right now, it's like not even a decision. If you get like an Alhawk piece, then ideally you want to just sacrifice it. Because it does no good having it on your body. It's pointless, especially with the core point system. You could put on something else. Pretty much all the other pieces will synergize with Ace in some way, but the Alhawk set does not. Every time you're doing this, you're getting a new seed. I think ideally would be double jump and then deep verse once if you're trying to speedrun this game. Deep verse on the first level would be optimal. So if you want to get this, you just go here to the upgrade. Every time you level this up, you get another rank. So if you're trying to speedrun the game anyway, you're going to get a lot of this stuff too. And since I only play Ace, the only things I really want is the sub-tank, and then the rerolls. And then the extra core points are pretty good too, but I wouldn't really suggest investing in that just because on Ace right now there's a lot of items, pretty much all the items related to energy, they barely do anything on him. Apparently they do increase his style bar regen, but basically not going to run out much anyway, outside of isolated situations where you do like a lot of Raijin call or something. Like, there it is right there. So let's go through this level. Show some of the changes. Maybe you guys will see some of the new level chunks. They still have not made this level much better. In my opinion, they've actually made it worse because you can't instant kill the snake anymore. I think the snake is just a objectively terrible and unfun boss. I really don't enjoy fighting it at all. music here is pretty bomb, though. Shoutouts to City Fires. He can make an unfun level still somewhat tolerable to play. Actually, I think I can one-shot him here. I'm gonna wait for him to go up. You don't always get this room. They added a bunch of harder chunks. The way they made it harder is they made the rooms bigger so that he can't eat himself. Which I think is kind of weird because that's like the whole gimmick to the fight. It's the only thing that's interesting about it. Other than that, it's getting bombarded by a bunch of projectiles and having way too much to manage. Not really enjoyable. So I've still got one reroll. I got the double jump in 2 rerolls, so that means I can use it somewhere else. Alright, well, that's basically a little mini overview and demonstration of some of the new chunks and some decently high-level gameplay. I'm going to go ahead and sign off there. Obviously, they've got to do pixel art this time now, so that's going to make it a lot harder for them to do updates and stuff. It's probably going to be another couple updates before we get anything actually major. I think this update's a net positive overall. I think making it so you can't make the snake eat himself is kind of dumb. That's like the only interesting thing about that fight. Otherwise, it's a resource sink. You lose a lot of health doing it. It's too much to manage, at least with Ace. It's a lot harder to fight him with Ace, especially if you don't have like Raijin Call or like the Spear or something to hit him. It just doesn't feel fun to me. Overall, they did make some nice changes. Being able to re-roll items helps quite a bit. You know, and Isaac. I didn't play Isaac for that long. I only played that game for like maybe 10 hours, 10, 15 hours or so before I got tired of it. That game wasn't really my style, but, you know, the D6 in that game was like one of the most valued items because it allowed you to circumvent the RNG. Obviously, when Rebirth came out, I think that game runs on Unity, so people were able to mod it pretty easily, and they got rid of a lot of the crap items. 20XX has never really had that problem. There were some items you never really wanted to take on certain characters, but for the most part, most items were useful in some situation. They don't have as many items as Isaac. Isaac has got content bloat at this point. I can't believe they're doing another expansion. They're going to be adding like another 100 items to the game or something. That's just like mind-boggling to me, like how many of them are actually useful. You don't have that problem here. I think they just need to tweak the energy-related items on Ace so that they're not just an instant salvage, because that's one of the things that can make it really easy to get a busted run as Ace. If you get a bunch of energy items and they give you a bunch of core points or HP, then you're pretty much set for the whole run, because there's no point in actually putting those on your body. They don't really do anything for him, and I think that's something they need to address in future updates, just because you know, you want the player to be making intelligent decisions and making choices while they're playing a roguelike. You don't want everything to just be salvage, and that's kind of the problem right now. There aren't that many items in the game to begin with, and a lot of them are just junk. They're not really worth taking on him, so you end up with situations where you get like nothing but Alhawk and energy items, and then you have this massive HP bar like I did on that little run I did at the beginning of the last level. That's something they need to address, but overall I think this game's going in the right direction. I think they need more items. They need to make Ace's moves better. They don't have the utility that a lot of Zero stuff had. You know, Zero had the problem too of a lot of his moves, they were only good for the weaknesses, and right now this game does not have the weakness system that 20XX had, so a lot of them are just way too situational. I feel like they need to be completely reworked. When they have the weakness system, that will be a band-aid on it. You know, Zero had a couple moves like the Hyoretsan and Hyurengin, you know, the uppercut and the down stab, respectively. You know, those were good for hitting things on the ground or hitting things above you. You know, those moves had utility besides just hitting weaknesses on bosses, but a lot of other things didn't, and I think that they have the opportunity to actually give him a moveset that would be better than Zero's, meaning that most of it gets used. When they got all the way to the Zero series, a lot of those moves actually did have a use, but in the X series, which this draws inspiration from, a lot of them are basically junk. So I hope all that will get worked on. They've been getting a lot of good feedback. It's just going to take longer for them to implement it than it did in the last game where they were using the skeletal flash style animation. Thanks for watching.